Hello, today we are discussing how the flesh of an onion resembles human skin. This is not a comforting topic, but comfort has never been the standard. If you have ever peeled an onion slowly, and I mean slowly like a person with too much time and questionable priorities, you may have noticed something unsettling. The layers, the translucence, the faint tension in the surface, the way it gives slightly before yielding completely, it is unfortunately familiar. Thank you. No, that's worse. An onion is one of the few vegetables that seems assembled rather than grown. It does not present itself all at once. It reveals itself in membranes, thin coverings, pale structures, moist, slightly reflective surfaces that suggest the vegetable knows more than it should. Human skin, of course, is not identical. That would be absurd, and yet the resemblance is enough to cause a pause, a hesitation, a brief administrative discomfort in the soul. Because onion flesh has that same strange quality of being both delicate and durable. It tears but reluctantly. It shines under light in a way that feels private. It clings to itself in layers, like the body trying to keep a secret through organization alone. That is not ideal in a food, and yet we proceed. And good. A mature audience. The onion's outer skin is dry and papery, like nature's first draft of a warning. But beneath it is the real disturbance, the wet inner flesh, smooth, curved, faintly warm-looking, even when cold. It has a kind of pallor that feels less agricultural than procedural. You separate a layer and suddenly you are no longer preparing dinner. You are participating in something that feels observational, clinical, but without the credentials. This is why onions deserve respect, not because they are tasty, though they are, not because they are versatile, though tragically they are, but because they are one of the only ingredients that can make a person stop mid-slice and think, for the briefest moment, this feels a little too intimate. That is range, that is power, that is produce with ambition. Now, some will say this resemblance is superficial. And yes, obviously, no one is confusing an onion for a person unless the evening has gone very badly. But resemblance does not need to be complete to be effective. It only needs to be close enough to disturb pattern recognition. Human beings are built to notice texture, tension, translucence. We are alarmed by things that almost belong in one category but remain stubbornly in another. That is why mannequins are unpleasant. That is why wax museums fail morally. And that is why an onion, under the right light, can feel like a medical metaphor. You're handling this well. There is also the matter of fragility. Onion flesh bruises, folds, separates at the edge. It can be peeled into strips that look less like food and more like evidence that biology enjoys repeating itself in strange places. Again, not identical, just close enough to bother the room. And that perhaps is the onion's greatest talent. It lives at the border between the ordinary and the quietly unacceptable. A sandwich topping by day, a philosophical issue by night. So yes, the flesh of an onion does resemble human skin. Not literally, not usefully, but aesthetically, texturally, spiritually, enough. Enough to make peeling one feel less like cooking and more like trespassing. And yet we dice, and yet we saute, and yet we pretend not to notice, because that is what civilization is. A long series of agreements not to describe things too accurately. Also, both onions and people have layers. That was the joke, of course. Good night.